What's going on, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an advanced look at some of these trades from Marvel Comics. So, let's get started. Before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these trade paperbacks. These trades are due out in the direct market on January 27th. However, sometimes you can get them a little bit earlier depending on where you shop. And of course, a few weeks later in the book market. So, we've got an epic collection, we have a graphic novel, and we have a new printing of Savage Wolverine. That's pretty interesting, but I'll talk about that when I'm on that subject. But now, let's start with the newest, Dr. Aphra. So for all of you anticipating the Dr. Aphra omnibus, you're probably going to ask, is this collected in there? And it is not. This is the new series. This is the 2020 series that just came out in 2020. Pretty redundant. Why did I even say that? Anyway, if you collect books in trade paperback format, this is the way to get the original series here of Dr. Aphra. And this is the new series. So you'll be happy to see some returning characters like Black Chrysanthemum. And it is written by Elisa Wong, and Marika Cresta does the artwork. Now, Marika Cresta is joined by Rochelle Rosenberg, who supplies the colors. And we'll talk about the cover artist here in a few seconds. But it is the return of Dr. Aphra, and if you're not familiar with the character, she is a character from Star Wars. She has ties to Darth Vader. And as far as the Doctor titled, as she's given herself, think more of Indiana Jones and less of Dr. McDreamy. Why the heck did I go with McDreamy of all the doctors? Why didn't I go with Dr. Zhivago or Dr. Wiley? What's wrong with me? Anyway, so yes, think of her more like Dr. Jones, that archaeological doctor. So that's what she is, and that's what they're after in this with her new band of teammates, all introduced in the very first few pages. As a matter of fact, I've only read the first half of the upcoming omnibus in trade paperback format, so I haven't even read how the original series ends. But Elisa does such a good job of reintroducing pre-existing characters, and I assume some of these are new characters. I don't think they appeared in the original series. But this takes place right after the events of the battle on Hoth. So during the snowstorm in Empire Strikes Back, that's what makes this so special, or the series as a whole, is that these take place during those epic events in the movies, during the A New Hope, and then during Empire Strikes Back. So I'm just showing off what the artwork looks like. It is very anime influence. Is that even a word anymore? Is anime influence? I mean, there have been artists that are in their 20s that had no idea what anime influence art looked like. But I think back in the 80s and 90s, that's what we would call it. But nowadays, I think it's just part of art style. So I need to get out of that mentality of anime influenced art, because now it's kind of its own thing. Let's look in the back here for some extras. This book retails for $15.99, by the way, and collects the first 5 issues of the 2020 series. Before looking at the extras, I did want to mention that all the covers in every one of the issues, so they're all preceded here by the covers, they're all done by Valentina Remenar. That's who supplies the covers for this particular trade paperback. So 120 pages. Let's look back here for the extras. Now, there are some absolutely gorgeous variant covers back here, and I don't think any of these spoil what's going on the inside. Most of them are just cover art. That is beautiful. And there's actually another variant by Valentina Remenar, who does, like I mentioned, all the covers on the inside. Now, for those of you wanting to know, is this just as good as the original series? It is hard to top that. And I've only read the first half, but that first 12 issues, the Kelly Thompson stuff, that was freaking awesome. So, it's fun. I will say that. It's just a little bit different. So you have a new mission and new castmates. So it's like starting over again. And there is that beautiful Terry Dodson artwork right there. Now, let's keep going. So here we have Falcon and Winter Soldier, cut off one head. And most of us that have read comics for a while know what cut off one head probably refers to, but for those that don't, I'm going to let you find out for yourself. So this is a 5-issue miniseries that was written by Derek Landy. It came out in 2020, and you have Federico Vinentini supplying the artwork. And the artwork reminds me a lot of Humberto Ramos or Rafael Sandoval, for that matter. who has a very Humberto Ramos art style. It's sketchy, cartoony, but works. The action sequences are actually really easy to follow, and I'll showcase some of that artwork. So it's pretty much teaming up our buddy Falcon and Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, together. Now, that might be because they have a TV show coming out, but this is what I mean by action sequences. And there are some better ones later on that I can showcase. So people are out to get Winter Soldier, and that's when Sam Wilson gets involved because he's looking for a specific lady that he hasn't heard of in a while. And they both don their newer costumes, I guess, even though Winter Soldier hasn't really changed his up any. And who is this Baron Zemo? I thought he was dead. Well, you can find out who that is, if that's really him. And all of that mess starts off with an attempted assassination on Winter Soldier. But one of the most important things I forgot to mention is that he's fighting all these agents here with his cat hanging on to him. And I thought that was really cool. And this is some of the art that I wanted to showcase back here. So you have two ex-Captain Americas teaming up together. And it gets me really excited for the TV show, because the TV show feels like it's going to be like a buddy cop comedy. But this is what I meant. I love this. I thought this was great. And this was a pretty fast read, honestly. Even though the book is only 112 pages. And this one retails for $15.99. But it's all, the whole series is in here. So there's really nothing after this, I don't think, unless it continued with another miniseries. Let me see back here for some extras. Censoring that final page, so you are surprised whenever you read it, but I wanted to showcase that beautiful variant by Bengal. It's been doing a lot of work lately for American comics. I know Bengal worked on Death or Glory. Here is the Butch Guys, Jackson Guys variant. Cien Liu. And then other variants here from Corey Smith, Koi Palm, and Paco Medina. I love this cover, by the way. And again, $15.99, has 112 pages. Next up is Wolverine by Frank Cho, Savage Land. So this is pretty interesting because this collects Savage Wolverine, the first 5 issues from 2013. But it doesn't say Savage Wolverine. And we've had a Savage Wolverine trade paperback that collected all 5 of these issues. And Savage Wolverine was a series from 2013 that it was an ongoing series, because after this, Zeb Wells and Joe Mad came on, and then it was Phil Jimenez. I can't remember how many issues it lasted exactly. I want to say 20 or so. But Frank Cho writes and draws the kickoff series, so the first 5 issues, where Wolverine wakes up in the Savage Land. He has people going after him. He's labeled Public Enemy #1. There's some amazing, gorgeous artwork, and that is mainly the reason why this book is so awesome. It is, by the way, rated. I forgot about that until I saw the decapitation. Parental advisory, not for nudity or anything, but mainly for violence. There's, it's actually really cool what Wolverine does with his claws, the use of his claws, because you don't really see a lot of that in the ongoing series because they're rated teen or OT, older teen. And he does team up with Shauna. Their Incredible Hulk shows up, Amadeus Cho shows up, and it's basically, just Wolverine going berserk down in the Savage Land. But the big selling point here is this beautiful, wonderful artwork by Frank Cho. And I will show you some of the black and white stuff so you can appreciate it so much more here in a second. The book retails for $19.99 and has 132 pages. Those covers are gorgeous. I love Frank Cho's artwork. I think he is phenomenal. Honestly, the only thing that I read by him that I really enjoyed was Liberty Meadows. This is okay, at most. The big selling point, of course, being his artwork. That is badass. Shauna with a freaking gun. Hot. Let's showcase some artwork in the middle here. Mainly wanted to show some of the spreads here. This would have been awesome collected in oversized format. I just love artwork like this in big format. So this is just Wolverine getting the cut loose. Mainly because we have that parental advisory. He gets to not only decapitate people or stab people through the head, but also gets to cut loose on some of the animals in the Savage Land. And you hardly get to see him, like I said, do that in the ongoing books. Now let's look at the extras here in the back. Censoring that final page so you can look at this variant by Frank Cho. That one's painted by him. That's a lot different than what I'm used to. You have the Joe Quesada variant, the colored version, and then the black and white inked version. The Scotty Young variant, Gabriel Delotto. That's Jeffrey Scott Campbell, and I've always loved that. I used to have this just for the cover. As you all know, Manara is one of my favorite artists of all time. And man, here's some more variants. Adi Granov, Lionel Francis Yu, Dave Johnson, and then Frank Cho's black and white artwork, which looks just stunning. Character designs. I wanted to showcase, this kind of stuff here, where we go from layout to inks to finish inks. Absolutely stunning, the amount of freaking, oh my gosh. One could just sit here and look at the spread and just be lost in all the little details and the leaves and the cross hatching that happens in the back, each hair. Talented artist. And then the sketch right there, the cutting edge, and other X books, of course. We've come to a point in the video where you can pause it so you can look at all those spines, you spine watchers, you. And let's keep on going. So here we have a book that is actually going to be reviewed by my daughter, Miss Lydia. For those of you that have been wanting more of her so you can show your kids. I love when people reach out to me and tell me that you let your kids watch my kids' review of these books. So that's really awesome. So she's read this and she is ready to review it. And it is The Unstoppable Wasp, A.I.M Escape. Now, from what she told me, because I'm a sinner and have not read this series, but this is a follow-up to the previous series, Girl Power. And it is done by Jeremy Whitley. And I know Maddie would kill me if I told her that I have not read this. But my daughter has read it, so that's got to count for something. Don't tell Maddie. Anyway, so this is all written by Jeremy Whitley. The artwork, you have Gurihiru doing about half of the art. And then you have Alti Firamangia, I believe is how you pronounce the last name, supplying the artwork for the rest of the series. So this does have a cartoony look to it, an anime look. I said I would stop using that. But obviously it's heavily inspired by anime. So it is the character of Nadia Van Dyne and how she has ties to Janet. I will let you find out because that's in the first volume. And she is a bright girl. There is something really cool and powerful, I think, about her character that was in the first volume, and I'm sure is going to be in this volume, that my daughter even pointed out. And I think that's really cool to showcase a character like that in comics, because while we're all strong and we want to see perfection in these characters, some of these characters do have issues like we do in real life. So I think it's wonderful. And if you've not read it, I think it's completely worth checking out. These are available in trade paperback format. This is the graphic novel size format, which is smaller in size than your average trade paperback. Of course, this is an Epic collection, so it's a lot bigger, but as you can tell, that's the size comparison there. And since I know very little about this book other than the character of Nadia, I am going to skip all the way to the back here. This book retails for $12.99, has 216 pages, and let's look at some of these extras here in the back. Oh, that's an awesome variant. I like that one too. So those are the variants that we have. 216 pages, $12.99. Get it for your kid. Get it for yourself if you've not read it. I really enjoyed the first volume, so I'll be reading this one. And last but certainly not least, Doctor Strange, Alone Against Eternity. This is Volume 4, taking place in the years 1975 to 1978 of the Doctor Strange ongoing series. So this one collects Doctor Strange 6 through 28, annual number 1. That's an awesome annual, and there's a story behind that too. And Tomb of Dracula, number 44. Now, I'm excited to have this one because this is the 5th Doctor Strange in Epic Collection format. Now we have volumes 1, we have volumes 3 and 4. So we're missing that second volume, then people can read them all in chronological order. So it is the return of Steve Englehart, Gene Colan supplying most of the artwork. However, about a third of the book, I'd say halfway through the book, Steve Englehart is asked to step down. So you're going to notice a change. And this is something that I noticed that was really interesting. So in the 70s, in the early 70s, Marvel was trying out new things, especially with this series. This series is freaking awesome. This Master of the Mystic Arts. I think, to me, the epitome of a good Doctor Strange story has always been the Triumph and Torment story. But before that, I had read issues of Master of the Mystic Arts, and that stuff was awesome. And I was so drawn to this kind of stuff, the colors, and just almost the psychedelic look to magic in a way. I thought that was really cool and trippy. So as a teenager, I was drawn to a lot of Gene Colan's artwork. Halfway through the book, you're going to notice a change. A tone is going to be different in the book. Not just with the writing, but also the artwork. And you'll see what I mean here, because I'm going to point it out. Because here you have these crazy battles. You have, him fighting Dormammu. You had him fighting Eternity. And then eventually, and he's with Clea the whole time. I love that about this. And then eventually he's going to be time traveling, if you will, through past America. Oh yeah, and you also have Umar back here. Now, let me show you what happens is that Steve Englehart, like I said, is asked to step down. So when I was reading this, because this is the first time I've read some of these issues, and I've read most of this stuff in the past, but Steve Englehart is asked to step down. So he doesn't even really get to finish his story. Marv Wolfman comes in, and here's the crossover with Tomb of Dracula, written by Marv Wolfman, at least the Tomb of Dracula part, Lord of the Vampires, who will eventually take over Doctor Strange. And then I believe Jim Starlin takes over for a while. But even this, I don't know how the heck Gene Colan supplied artwork for both titles. Both this and Doctor Strange. And all inked by Tom Palmer. But it has an eerie look to it. It definitely feels like it's a different time when reading these stories, mainly because of Colan's artwork. So that all comes to a change here with issue number 18. Right? This is still when he's traveling through time, and he doesn't get to finish out the series because by issue number 19, we have Marv Wolfman stepping in. And there's nothing wrong with Marv Wolfman at all. I love his writing, but it felt a lot different than the writing by Steve Englehart. And the artwork is stellar too. Nothing wrong with the artwork. Because some of the artwork here is done by Rudy Nebres. And this looks awesome. I love this stuff. It's like a mix of like Neil Adams and Michael Golden. But it just felt different. Even the story felt different. Now, for those of you wondering, is issue 21 collected in here? It is not. Just the cover is collected in here. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But first, let's talk about this. Because this, speaking of artwork, is also freaking stellar. And this is P. Craig Russell's annual number 1. However, when you're reading this, you'll see that there's a change in the story. Mainly because they wanted it to flow with what's going on in the main book. So it feels like he had to change some of his writing and some of his art. However, about 20 years later, this was published as it was originally intended to be published, as a graphic novel called Doctor Strange, What Is It That Disturbs You, Stephen? And I thought that was really cool that we finally got the full story, how it was originally supposed to be played out. About 20 years later. So here's issue 21, but not the issue, just the cover, because this reprints Strange Tales number 169, and then we jump on to issue number 22. Rudy Nebres, who was supposed to be a fill-in artist, has been doing ongoing art on Doctor Strange, with Marv Wolfman still writing the book, and then I think this is the one with Jim Starlin coming in and starting to co-plot it eventually. Marv Wolfman still doing the main storyline. So it's going to be interesting to see if this is collected in omnibus format, because I think this is the most voted run that people have wanted. I know, at least in the chats when you all are on, you want this run collected in omnibus format, at least the Steve Englehart run. But I would be okay having both of these runs together. So by now we have Jim Starlin that has actually taken over the book. I think Roger Stern comes in later on. But this is kind of what you get for a little bit of Doctor Strange. And yes, he does get to fight. I forgot. He does get to fight later on, like other cosmic characters again, like the In-Betweener. And I think, yeah, this is Roger Stern back here. Ernie Chan. Love that guy's inks. There we go. There's some more cosmic trippy fighting. But nothing like the good old Gene Colan days, or Steve Ditko for that matter. Now, let's look in the back here for extras. So here's Strange Tales 182, and this is when they started reprinting older Strange Tales issues. It's very common. X-Men did the exact same thing. By the way, one thing I didn't note is that the page count of this book is 488 pages. Retails for $39.99. That is an awesome picture. And just more Strange Tales covers, original artwork. It's beautiful. Gene Colan stuff. And this is the one with Dracula, I think. Whoa, that's from Pete Craig Russell. Yes. More Pete Craig Russell original art. So here's the first version of the annual cover that Pete Craig Russell wanted to use. The second version, which was passed up on because they decided to use Dave Cockrum's cover instead. So Pete Craig Russell did a take on that cover apparently later in the years. It's always interesting to find out all these behind the scenes stories and then more original artwork. But that, as they say, is that. And if you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online source for collected editions up to 50% off retail price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on excellent packaging, so your stuff gets to you in excellent condition, and they have amazing customer service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And for all you Minties that are watching, if you're a first-time customer, don't forget to mention that Near Mint Condition sent you their way for a promotional credit on free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your source for the hottest books with deep discounts, customer service, and excellent shipping that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and the page count of each of these trades. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up. I know so many of you have been asking for a Doctor Strange Steve Englehart omnibus. Don't know if that's coming or not, but at least we have some of the epics that are out. Let me know if you hope that they continue the Savage Wolverine series with that Wolverine by Frank Cho Volume 1, and what you thought about any of these books. Did you enjoy the new Dr. Aphra? Or if you're picking up the graphic novel books for anybody in your family. Let me know those comments down below. Please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We can be found on Redbubble and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel. More importantly, please everybody, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love to all of you.